Sorry.
So I apologize. We are just getting on. Hi, Holli McCormick here with my guest Paige. Welcome,
Hi,
Paige.
I'm Paige.
Thank you so much. New technology, having a guest, trying to bite off more than I can probably chew, and I'm super sick if you can hear. It sounds worse than it probably is, but I'm super congested. And I thought we've been on for like 10 minutes just trying to figure out the technology and all of that. And I didn't realize.
Oh, there's me. I'm looking on my phone.
We actually didn't realize we weren't actually live. So no wonder no one was joining. I thought it was just going to be a low-key night. Now, the last couple of weeks, I've done this both on Substack, because I have a Substack, and on YouTube, and nobody. So we got a couple people on Substack and just like a couple people on YouTube, but I don't think I can handle one more thing I have to toggle back and forth between. So we're just going to do this one. All right. So now we're getting going. We are here. If you're joining us for the replay, we are here to discuss season 1, episode 1, or episode 1A through 1D, because I realized after about a week of listening to episode 1 over and over and over again, it was way too much. And so I broke it down into 4 parts and added a little bit more fun to each of the videos. So I suggest watching 1A through 1D, much more fun than the big long one that makes you feel like you're back in a college class, even though I think my teaching is a lot more fun than some professors.
I thought it was entertaining. Okay. I liked that kind of stuff. I think that there's a little bit of like both, or there's something for everybody, and it's good to have like a variety of different content, so it kind of reaches people all different kind of mindsets.
Awesome. So we are just kicking off. Really, this is our first season on Deconstructing Patriarchy. Again, also over on Substack. So all of the work I'm trying to do is keeping it free for the most part. Want to get monetized on YouTube, I have to hit 1,000 subscribers and 4,000 watch hours. So please watch these videos, even in the background. You don't have to have the volume on once you listen to them once, but they're so meaty, you might want to listen to them more than once, and share with your friends to get the word out there that we are here. And then also on Substack, Deconstructing Patriarchy, I've set it up so you can join it for free, or if you have $5 a month or $50 a year, then you can join and support this type of work to deconstruct patriarchy. And as we'll hear in this first episode, I'm not about blaming men. It is really about deconstructing the structure of patriarchy and the ideology, more than that, behind everything. So I'm going to give it over to Paige, because I can already feel my voice is and let her introduce herself and why she decided to come on for this grand experiment.
Well, hi, I'm Paige. I am a esthetician that works in Fort Worth, but I mean, it's not all that I do, all that I love. There's definitely a lot of stuff that I like to do, lots of hobbies. Anyway, let's see. I'm on here just because I want to help make a difference. I feel like with the state of the world going on right now, it's very heavy. It's a lot of mixed feelings there, and it's some people are kind of just getting into like a depressed funk, and then other people are weirdly, strangely happy, and it's disconcerting, and then that's also bothersome. And so anyway, I just feel like patriarchy is like the big, huge systemic reason on why we are here the way we are, and along with racism as well. It just kind of goes hand in hand. But anyway, I'm here because I want to help make a difference. I want to put the voice out there.
Yay. Thank you, Paige. And how can people reach you in case they want to have an esthetician in the Fort Worth, Texas area?
Well, I am on the Vagaro booking app for beauty services, and then I also my phone number is on my website.
Yeah.
If
don't say
my business name is oh yeah, probably not. My but I'm on Instagram, Engage with Paige, and then I'm also on Blue Sky, and still on Facebook, and on Facebook, Instagram. I'm trying to slowly but surely get off Meta completely, but right now I'm just kind of like hanging on by a thread, so to speak, no pun intended, with Threads. Like Threads, I feel like I definitely could be more myself on there. I post what I really want to post. Like Instagram and Facebook are definitely more of like, have to be professional. I do own a business, but my Thread is like, I don't know, kind of like balls to the wall a little crazy, not gonna lie. But it's fine. It's more to love.
Yeah. So you've got the professional facing page, which is her esthetician business, and that's on. I'll get the link in the description below. I have her non-professional, more of her, kind of activism, if you will, platform on Threads. I have that link down below, but I'll make sure to get the other link in case you do need an esthetician in I almost said the Bay Area.
Oh, that does full body waxing.
And
I specialize.
y'all.
Yes, I specialize in Brazilians. That's pretty much like almost all I do, all day, every day, baby. I don't mind doing other services. I do love doing those as well, but Brazilians I'm like, I got you, babe.
Got you. I love it. So part of the goal with deconstructing patriarchy is, with the lives especially, is to have everyday people on. I mean, if there's a big guest that I think would really help, like Rain as Eisler, I used her work in the first couple episodes. I would absolutely have her on if I got that big, that she would come on and give us some of her attention. But
okay,
I want to have everyday people like you, Paige, that can really, we can speak to what we're doing in small little ways, and how we're, the thought came to me today is like, we can't cover everything. So like, let's pick a lane. And, for our activism side, again, my platform here with Deconstructing Patriarchy, if you're new, is really about get educated on what the patriarchal lens is that we see everything through. And I mean, everything: science, biology, women's health, health in general, but women's health especially, history, religion, politics, social, sex life, like all of it is seen through a patriarchal lens with this ideology that I'm teaching on these episodes. Be able to take that lens off, see a bigger, wider territory, world, so that we can rewrite the past, which will rewrite the present, which will eventually hopefully rewrite, some other things for some new creation stories that came up on TikTok today. I'm like, that's what I'm doing with my historical fiction. I'm writing a new creation story, essentially, that's going to drive a 3-book series that flips the Christ on its head and puts Mary Magdalene in the Christ role. So
I like that. I think that's a really good idea.
But there's also this drive that, Paige and I have been talking about a lot is, we want to do something to be active. And I'm like, but we can't cover everything. That really came to me today. I'm like, I just I can't do it all. So, just encouraging people to take one lane and hyper focus on that one lane of whatever you're passionate about.
Right, for sure.
So something, I don't know, like what would be one lane that you would focus on, Paige, if you had to choose
One thing I would like to start, would be like a grassroots of like being a blue dot in a red state. I've seen that be kind of like a little hashtag on Threads. I'm like wondering if that could be more of like a bigger movement kind of thing, and really get more involved in local elections. I think a lot of stuff just doesn't, how do I explain it? A lot of stuff happens because people just don't really care enough to vote or to find out like the smaller like city council races, mayor races, like things like that. And I think trying to get more people, like younger people my age, I'm 31, and people like Generation Z, just more involved in caring and just caring about other people. I think we are just still in a state of just me, my, and it needs to stop. And I think a big reason for that is patriarchy. I'm sure you can probably explain.
Yeah, well, I think it's more of I think that's more capitalism, but that's the offshoot of patriarchy.
But it's like a whole big thing.
Like they keep us too busy trying to just survive because capitalism has that drive. And that's what my post on Substack that came out yesterday was about, was really undoing the 24-hour clock of same production day in, day out, and increased production if you can, right? Like instead of having a seasonal, yearly life flow. And we had somebody that hopped on. I wanted to say hi to them, but I might like put up my hand like this if I see the number go up on how many people just to say hi. So I think that's awesome. I think also just people get so busy in their everyday lives that they just really don't know how to, and we're getting, YouTube is not receiving enough data. Oh goodness. Okay. It just does that sometime where the stream, I guess, doesn't go through. But, and I think it's, I don't know if it's, I think right now we have, they've kind of awoken the sleeping giant, because I think a lot of,
Yeah.
I still don't consider myself a Democrat. And I will not, because of so many reasons. I want to stay more independent.
Yeah.
But I do want to be super involved. And I think there's a lot of people, because I talk to a lot of people. Hello, if you're just joining us, we're just getting started. Got a little late start today. We're talking about how to get people more involved in just caring about their local elections.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
So I'm going to skip, since my voice is not going to last the whole time. Hold on. There is a link that I'll put in the description, and I'll send it to you, Paige, too, a text, just remind me. ACLU is having a class on how to, if you're in Texas, understand the Texas legislator more, which I would really like to do.
Okay. That's awesome.
Yeah.
Poor Holli.
I know. And that one person just jumped off. So, okay. So I'm going to jump us ahead to the somatic tool.
Got it.
Yeah. Oh, but yeah, I think that would be my one thing too, is hello, if you're just joining us, I saw a number go up. Woo! We got a whole 2 people watching. One of them, Paige. The other person might be me. I don't even know. Anyways, we're just talking about, if you're just joining us, what, instead of like getting inundated by all the different things that they're doing to cause chaos, which is something I keep saying on this channel, is like pick a lane and focus on that lane, and that way you don't get inundated, and you're still feeling like you're doing something, even if it's super small, which is just maybe taking this ACLU course. But that would probably be my one thing too, is just getting more educated myself on how it works locally and getting more involved. And I know like North Richland Hills is a suburb I live in Fort Worth. Their voting is in May, and I'll probably be gone, so I need to register for absentee if I can. But okay, let's do a somatic tool. So I'm going to rearrange my camera so you can see me. I'm going to be right back here. You're not going to be able to see the full body.
Okay.
And I haven't done this in other lives. Silly me. So you're going to keep your knees soft and your body just kind of loose, right? And we're going to stand up, and the action.
Oh, I'm short.
So we might be able to see you. Is that what you're saying?
Yes, no one will see me.
Yeah. So you might have to angle it down then. Or you can turn it off. You can turn your screen off if you don't want people to see you, because you're going to jiggle and you might not.
Yay.
Want that on YouTube. I'm going to do a demonstration first, but basically this is called the somatic shake. And if you want the full description, go back to my live last week. I gave a full description within probably the first 10 minutes. But basically what it does is it helps to gyrate the body so that it releases the excess energy that gets stored from all of this, chaotic world that we live in, whether it be just a door slamming or every time you turn on the news. So we're going to stand up, knees soft, knees like legs right underneath your hips, and your hips are not generally this wide. They're a little narrower.
You probably might be able to see me. You'll see my head.
And the action is going to be, the force of it is you're going to raise up on your toes and then drop your heels. And so the knees need to be soft. So I just have to put a caveat on, if people are joining me, please, if you have any knee injuries, back injuries, any joint injuries, just watch and see if this would be comfortable for you. But after about 10 or 15 seconds of doing this, I'm going to take my phone so I can time us. We'll take a break, and you're just going to take a deep breath. What it should do too is help reset the breathing diaphragm, if I can talk, to allow it to open up more so you can get a deeper breath in. Typically, I start people at 15 seconds, and then we'll work up to a minute, but in 10-second increments, because it can be a lot for the nervous system. Or if your nervous system has a lot of excess energy that it hasn't dissipated or reset with, you might not feel anything at all. So let me get my camera up. All right. So I'm going to angle it down so you can see my feet. I know this is so professional, but can you see?
See your booty.
I know, right? So can you see that drive down?
Yes.
Okay, so that's kind of the motion we want. So I'm just going to do it first, and I get going faster. And I just get
kind of hard with my cat headbutting my hand.
And I just get spaghetti arms going. And if you want to join us, I'll set the timer. Oh, that's 17 minutes. That's not what I meant.
I'm trying to do it, but I'm also like, I feel silly.
I know, but it'll feel so good after you're done, I promise.
Gotcha.
5,
Let's just do
4.
I wish I could just put my cat or my camera on my cat.
2. All right, now just come to a pause and let your body
Gotcha.
naturally reset to wherever it wants to go. It might float front. It might float back or side to side. And hopefully your breath is feeling better. I'm going to angle it back up a little bit more towards me.
Where's my cat?
All right, let's do that again. On your marks, get set, go.
Go.
Just shake it out like Taylor Swift says. Shake it out.
Shake it out. Shake it out.
If YouTube didn't block my music, I'd put music on for us.
You can't even use a clip.
And then come to a stop. Let your body reset.
All right. Hopefully some people got some good footage of Momo Baby. That was my cat, Momo Baby.
All right, and here's one other one that I love doing. Is if you have a blanket. Do you have a blanket nearby?
I do.
Or you have that burrito blanket, as seen on TV. You can roll up. So I really encourage you, for those that are watching it on the replay, because we don't have anybody live at the moment. Not even Paige or myself.
It's fine. More fun.
I really encourage you to work your way up to a minute, because what I said in the last couple of lives is if you do that for like a minute or 2 minutes, like with a break, you can go transcendental. Like you can go to a different place without drugs or alcohol. And it's pretty, I've done it a lot, and it's pretty freaking amazing. Okay, so you're gonna wrap yourself up like a burrito, and if you have like a chair that swivels or rocks.
I do not, but I will do my best.
Rock yourself, right?
Yes.
You can do a little rock
do like
yourself. That. And these are called somatic tools. So somatic means of the body. And in order to be able to breathe, which, is always a great reminder, you first need to often reset the brain out of that fight, flight, freeze, or fawn stage into a more parasympathetic system place, which is what these exercises allows you to do. So it allows you to breathe. And, anytime you're feeling anxious or nervous or overwhelmed or in the chaos, and we have 3 new people on. Welcome, welcome, welcome. These are exercises. You can go back and watch these on the replay, but these are exercises that will really help you get out of that, oh my God, I'm so overwhelmed. What do I do right now? Because there's so much shit they're throwing at us on purpose. Turn it off. Do these exercises. Then you can breathe if you don't have all the stuff that I have.
Yeah, it's definitely not good for your cortisol levels. All this stuff that's going on in the world and the stress, it's just going to up your cortisol levels. I find myself going through that a lot. I'm definitely in my fight or flight phase a lot. I feel like whenever I'm sleeping, I have my T-Rex arms. I think that is a sign of your just nervous system just kind of just going haywire. Yeah.
I sleep like that all the time. I'm always a side sleeper with that.
Right.
I don't know. I think it just depends on how you usually sleep. All right. So let's jump in to your questions. So again, if you're just joining us, we just did our somatic exercises. Welcome if you're just joining us. And your somatic exercises help your body to regulate the energetic system so that you can actually breathe. So people telling you to breathe often doesn't work, or yelling at you to breathe, that doesn't often work. You've got to help your nervous system to actually be able to calm down, and those somatic exercises. So go back 5 minutes, rewatch those, do those exercises, and then fast forward back to here. All right. So Paige, you watched the first 4 episodes, or the first episode in 4 parts. What is your overall take? What did you think of it?
It felt like I was watching like a really good history lesson. At the same time, it was also full of like funniness and like laughter, and like I thought that I don't know, it was really entertaining. I liked it a lot.
Good. Oh my gosh, good. Okay. And it made sense. And you got
Yeah, and
some
it made
points.
sense.
Okay, good. Sometimes when you're like putting things together and you're in your head so much, you're not sure if it's actually getting out of your head in a good way. So I appreciate that.
Right,
All
for
right. So
sure.
do you want to jump into, well, you said you have your definition of patriarchy. What's your definition now?
Yes, my definition of patriarchy is, I guess when we say patriarchy, we're talking about like a system that gives men, especially white cis men, disproportionate power in politics, economics, and social structures. It's about the way our entire society was designed to benefit them at the expense of others. And I think it affects women, men, anyone that doesn't fit the normal mold.
Mm-hmm.
That's my definition.
Yeah. Yeah. The only thing I would say, I would probably change a little bit that I'm changing my own language on is elites
Mm-hmm.
versus
Mm-hmm.
white male, because you're going to get the people like Jordan Peterson type people who, point to the fact that so many men are suffering. And in episode 1C, I talk about this, and I actually address Jordan on this
Mm-hmm.
topic, not directly,
Right.
but through the video. You're going to get
Right.
people that say, well, look at how many men are suffering nowadays. Like they're graduating from high school and college in lower rates, they're going to prison, creating more. To me, that's the symptom of patriarchy, where everybody
It is.
suffers.
It
So I'm trying to
is.
use that language, and often thinking about like where this all got started, which is in the Mesopotamian area.
Right.
They weren't white.
Right.
But
Right,
they
for
were
sure.
the elites, right? They were the elites, and
Yeah, that makes
eventually it
sense.
became more of the white man.
Right, and now they are the elites, but
It's the
kind
elites.
of like they've kind of created this system, and then they kind of want us to feel bad about it, and I'm like, absolutely not.
Mm-hmm.
No,
Yeah.
no, I don't feel bad. I'm like, cry me, Justin Timberlake, cry me a river. I can't. I don't feel bad for them.
What do you mean they want you to feel bad about what?
Like kind of how like they're like men who are like saying it's women's fault for why they are in this stuck in the way that they are, like why they don't, I mean, I could go on.
Why men are not evolving, or why women are submitting?
Why men aren't evolving.
Yeah. I go into that more in episode 2, in as to like, well, that's more about the is it natural for men to evolve, to dominate and women to submit? So there's this funny thing that happens, and I've had to have other people explain this to me to understand it for myself. But when people have had the favored position in any system, and then all of a sudden they're treated less like an elite and more like an equal, they then therefore see themselves as victims. So now, and that's a little bit of the Darvo method, which I'm actually going to have a video out on TikTok and hopefully YouTube as well. If they don't block my Love Island scene. But Darvo stands for deflect, attack, reverse, victim, and oppressor, right? So that's what really skilled people know how to do in debate, but also manipulative, narcissistic, high control type people. And so they will deflect it, and now they're the victims because no one's taking their rights away. It's just they're giving other rights, the same rights to other people. And now they're on a more equal playing field, so they don't know what to do with that, and they call it victimization.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, I had to have 100%. That explained a couple times to understand it. So, good book point.
Right. Let's see. What are the biggest ways patriarchy influences like our everyday lives that people might not even notice?
For me, is that a question for me?
Yeah, that's for you.
Oh my goodness. So I do, again, I'm on TikTok if you want to go. And this is the thing I have a hard time with TikTok about, because you can't see the titles, but I do a series. I don't know if it's a series, but I do videos that say subtle ways that patriarchy shows up in our society. I see it a lot as a woman, especially in the dating world. Read the question again. Some of the biggest ways it shows up in society we're not aware of.
Yeah, what are the biggest ways patriarchy influences our everyday lives that people just might not even notice?
I mean, it's everything. I said that at the beginning of this, I think. Hold on, I'm going to cough up him.
I guess it's more of like nuance or like subtle ways.
Yeah, I mean, watching Love Island, I think having the awareness, again, of everything I'm teaching here, and I don't know how much or if I'll do a series on narcissism as well, but I have a deep understanding of
Mm.
how to spot narcissism, because
Yeah.
narcissism and the values that we put into leaders is the same thing. We value
Mm.
narcissistic traits. And so being able to recognize
Right.
that and spot that, and the way that they
Right.
use this thing called DARVO, deflect, attack, reverse victim and oppressor, how they, just those little tactics they use,
Right.
definitely the biggest ways. I mean, again, that's why I'm doing this series, because it's so nuanced and
Yeah.
everything's been layered. So I
Mm.
heard there's another great channel that also uses my Bible, The Creation of Patriarchy.
Mm.
Not to the extent that I'm using it, but it's called Breaking Down Patriarchy. It's on YouTube. And
Mm.
hold on. Yeah, we might have to redo this next week. So I'm like, oh. So she gave this example that she was traveling in southern Spain. So if you know anything about the southern Spain history, which I studied abroad, so I know a little bit, you had kind of the Indo-European people first, and then, so like the Romans, and then you
Mm.
had the Christians come and build on top of those structures. And then you had the Moors or the Muslims come, so they were called Moors in the southern Spain, build on top of those structures. And then you had the
Mm.
Christians come back and build on top of those structures again. So you have all of these different structures that are built on
Mm.
top of one another.
Right.
And I say this in that first episode too, I think in first 1A, it's like that
Mm.
foundation of a house or a skyscraper is so
Right.
far down into the earth at this point. It's 6,000, started 6,000 years ago, but it took 2,500 years for that
Right.
ideology to build into what we would call currently patriarchy. So it started
Mm.
at 3,100 BCE, ended about that 2,500 years ended, and I'm not saying it ended, but that
Mm.
2,500 years it took to build that was about 600 BCE.
Mm.
And then from that time, if you look at like the philosophers in Greek and Rome, they were looking at the building and not being able to see the foundation of patriarchy. And they
Right.
didn't have history or anthropology or sociology like we do today. So all they saw was the building. And the building
Mm.
said men get to lead, men get to dominate, women are a second sex. So their philosophies were all built
Mm.
on this,
Mm.
as if it was true, because that's all they could see. They couldn't see that there was a foundation under here where that foundation got built. And actually that foundation had a different foundation that started with patrilineal,
Mm.
that's a new word, matrilineal, matriarchal, or partnership societies, right? So they
Right.
couldn't see back that far. So 600 BCE through the time of the Bible writings, which was about 70 CE through the early 100 CE. So for the next, like, what, that's 600, 700 years, they're all building on what these philosophers built on
Mm.
until our present age. So all of this stuff about women being the second sex and being, just
Subhuman.
subhuman is from 600 BCE.
Mm-hmm.
And then some, right?
Right.
So that has gotten built in, and philosophy got built into our religions and our New Testament, into our sciences. So even Darwinism. So I'm going back into this book and reading chapter 1, and Darwinism puts women as the second sex and limits women based on their gender biology, instead of saying, I read something on TikTok today that basically said, men got to evolve and have machines do labor for them. And that gave them space and time to develop a consciousness, a masculine consciousness, right? And they got to sit there and debate and become philosophers or religious people. But guess who's taking care of the kids and the family for free?
Yeah. Yeah.
building the
Free
rest,
labor. Yeah.
yeah, building the rest of the society. So all of that's going on behind the scenes that we don't see, that has
Oh
built us
yeah.
up to this point at 2025. So
Oh yeah.
when I say patriarchy is like this patriarchal lens that we're looking at the world through undermines everything in this world. I mean, you can't, unless you know how to take it off, that lens
Mm-hmm.
off, and see a wider picture, which is what this book helps us do, and what the work that I'm doing helps us do. then like, I'm kind of, I don't want to say I'm in a debate, but there's this woman on Substack who is into femtech. So she's an investor, and she's encouraging women to look at feminine health and put money in that area because it's a way where they can get a huge return.
Oh yeah, for sure.
But that's a capitalistic viewpoint, right? Like,
it is.
We're missing making women more like men in order to make them more productive like men with a financial dollar sign tied to them, right?
Right.
And I'm like, but are they taking into account that patriarchy made women deviants and male norm in the sciences, the human sciences of biology and chemistry and all of that, way back when the scientists got started, what, 1600? Are they taking that into account? Because most of them don't, right? Like birth control tells us, the pill, I should say, specifically tells us we don't have to have a cycle. Well, if you go more holistic health, they say the cycle health of a woman is the most important thing to determine her entire lifespan of health. So stopping a woman's health or stopping a woman's cycle might not be the best thing for her, especially, you're now seeing huge infertility rates, which part of me wonders if that's actually like, were they always there, but we just didn't see them because people didn't talk about it? That kind of thing.
Probably. Right? It could be a plethora of things, but I think do know that
the pill really messes with a woman's biology.
Right. But without it, women would be stuck. And I do feel like, and I know that it could be, birth control could be approved for men, but men don't want it to be approved because they don't want to have to deal with the side effects.
Because men are the norm. So why should they? See, that's where it shows up. Men are the norm in science and health. So why should they have to change anything? Women should become the norm. Right. So this is actually where I first got started with any of this work, like 12 years ago, 13 years ago, is we don't want to be equal to men, y'all, because that just forces us into this norm that patriarchy creates. We want to be our own norm.
Right.
Right.
I mean, yeah.
But if you look at an equation, men is the goal. And we're trying to be equal to them, but we're not equal to them. Our bodies are completely they're so much more complex.
Right.
It makes our psychology different. It makes everything about us different. And so, and to answer your thing about birth, so I come at it from a holistic perspective. There are other ways. Like I used it's called fertility awareness method. It's not the rhythm method, which the rhythm method sucks. And I got pregnant when I wanted to. And I didn't get pregnant when I didn't want to. And that was an all natural way. And it actually gave me power to understand what was going on with my body because I'd never been taught what are those different fluids that are coming out of my body at each time of the month. I'm sorry, but that's true, right? Like nobody teaches us this shit.
No.
And so I got to learn that when I was 24, thinking, before that, I thought I had endometriosis. Just learning what my body was doing every month on a regular basis took away so much stress that I didn't have all that cramping anymore.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I know birth control has its side effects and it does have its downsides, but it's more of like what it represents and like it, the technology has caught up maybe now to where like things can change and women might not have to actually depend on birth control. Like honestly, it should be put on the man. Like they should start inventing something for men to be taking all the time. It doesn't interfere
with our health like it does with ours.
Exactly. So why is it always just on us? It takes two to tango, and it's always on us.
Yeah,
exactly. And to me, I think it's really sad that like 1 in 3 women literally like have to 1 in 3 women globally experience gender-based violence. Like even in like 2-income households, women do about twice as much unpaid labor at home.
Yep.
Women still make 82 cents for every dollar that men make.
And then if you go into women by race,
when
you go down to like Latina, it goes, white women or all women, white women, black women, Latinos, Chinese, Asians, it keeps going down. So like Latinos are only earning like 60 some odd cents on the dollar.
Yeah, it's sad. It's disgusting.
Into the grave. So yeah, I'm glad you said that about birth control because that's my take on it. It's like, yes, we want birth control. We want the ability to be able to make decisions for ourselves as to when and how and why it's the right time to have a family that we can actually care for, because that is pro-life. Being
Right,
forced, sorry,
exactly.
the cough drop got stuck in my teeth. Being forced to have babies when, and that's another book I'm reading. I'm in the process of reading the list, called Trust Women. And it's really about reproductive health.
Oh, you got the links? You got the links for the books in the bio?
You know what? I have to put them all to the side so I get them again. But yes. And then there's
Yes.
a podcast called Outlawed that I'm listening to.
Okay.
Because I find listening is easier for me than reading. I can get through it a lot faster and go back and
I do like audiobooks.
But Outlawed is also about reproductive justice. And that's the term we want to make sure we're using, because abortion is part of reproductive justice. But again, having, and I didn't even know this, and I'm 47 years old, going into perimenopause where flooding is common. Like, you won't have a cycle for a couple months and then you just flood, where you could go into hemorrhaging. So now, did you know, if you go into a doctor's office in Texas and you are having a natural abortion, your body just decided it doesn't want to carry this baby, that the doctors can't tell whether it's a natural abortion or a medical abortion, and they can't treat you immediately if it's a life and death until it's a death situation.
A life or death. Yes, I did know this. I do keep on top of this. It seems like I'm one of the few people that do. Everyone that I talk to about it thinks that I'm crazy whenever we talk about it, and that it's not going to happen. I'm like, it is happening, baby. Well, it is happening.
I think the point that I was wanting to make is like that the doctors can't tell. And that's why that's where we get into trouble with dangerous. That law in place. They can't do what they need to do to save women and her future babies.
I agree. It's
her baby that is already alive, right? Like, she might have a child at home. But then,
it's written to be vague on purpose. It's about a war against women.
Right. But then my question is, if I go into the doctor's office at 47, I'm still within the range of having a baby, and I'm flooding. Are they going to be able to tell that it's flooding versus a medical abortion? How would they tell? They have to take my word for it, right? So you're putting women at risk all the way through until their menopausal years for something that needs to be part of the gynecological health of women. So that's a whole nother thing that we can go into.
Yeah, whole other thing.
Yeah, that's a whole other thing. Don't get me started. But yeah, Outlawed on podcast is amazing because it talks about all of this stuff. But okay, shoot me with another question.
Another question. All right, friend. Okay. What do you say to women who claim they've never experienced sexism, like blink twice, girl, if you need help?
That is a good question. Okay. So I do say this in one of my videos. I say, even if you don't think you're experiencing, I use the word patriarchy, but sexism, because maybe you have a great man at home who is really just all about equality. He's very liberal. He's very progressive. You go to an office and you're working at, ACLU or something like that, right? Like where people are maybe you're in that situation. It does not matter, because the system we are living in is still, that's the structure of our skyscraper that we're in, with the foundation of that system. And so the ideology, you're still having to move through that building on a daily basis to get to your work, to get to your home. So you are inadvertently, maybe not directly, but you're inadvertently interacting with that patriarchal structure on a daily basis, because that's the structure of our society. You can't escape it. You go into your doctor's office and the medical information he's giving you is based on this ideology that women are deviants from the men. And that's why men even got involved in gynecological health up until like the mid, I think 1800s. Men were never involved in women's health, but they saw that they could make money out of it. All of a sudden they got involved. It was always midwifery. And that might have been early 1800s. Don't quote me on the history on the number on that. But yeah, it used to be like, there's another great book that I listened to this summer called Eve, and it's the evolution of humans through the female body. And I mean, we would not be here without midwifery.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah, I mean, for millennia. Like, we've been around as a species for 300,000 years. And OBGYNs, essentially, gynecological health, started when we started reproducing. So for 300,000 years, women have been passing down this history of how to keep our bodies healthy. And now they're trying to separate us from all that information and keep it unknown to us, so we can't have access to that. So even if you don't have intimate experience with sexism or patriarchy, you're still sitting in it, and you're still in this country right now. You can't escape it. Like,
you cannot escape it.
sexism
It's
is
everywhere.
taking over the White House. It's Project 2025. If you don't know anything about that, I encourage you to, again, remind me to put the link in here. I listened to the new evangelicals did a great episode on this, and this is what actually embarked me back into politics after a 12-year somewhat hiatus. And he has a lawyer on to break it down and talk about it, and like as a lawyer's viewpoint. And as somebody that's been an ex-evangelical, I can tell you, like, I read that thing in a few sentences, I'm like horrified, because it was like my marriage all over again on a social political scale. So so that's, I mean, I like, that's the general way I would answer that question. If it was a one-on-one conversation, I'd probably dig deeper and, you know, talk more about their experience. Most people I have found, because I've done a lot of Uber drives, so I've gotten a lot of one-on-one time with people in a very private, intimate setting. Because there's
same. This is my job.
You've done Uber, yeah.
Oh no, I waxed, and I'm, you know, I talk to people in the most intimate like moment for the most part, besides like giving birth to their child. Like we're, you know, we're all up in it, and so, you know, things come out, and so like I just, I'm in the same thing. I hear stories, I hear so much tea, but it's, you know, it's all stays up in here.
Yeah, I think there's even something though different about, if you don't think you're going to see this person again, people will just like spill the tea and
tell me about it.
And now I forgot where I was going with this. Oh my gosh.
I'm so sorry.
What were we
I do that all the time.
Oh, it's the brain fog.
We were talking about
so where I was going with this is, I'll start talking to somebody and they'll be talking about their spouse or their partner, and they're like, oh, we have a great relationship. And then you start like again, if you're trained on how to spot the red flags of high control, you know, manipulative type narcissistic people, you recognize them really easily. And so somebody will say something and I just start digging a little deeper, asking some more questions. And digging a little deeper and asking some more questions. And then you're like, you're in a narcissistic relationship, babe. You need to get out, you know?
Yeah, so for sure. Run fast,
that
run
is probably
far.
Something I would do if somebody had told me they'd never, you know, don't experience sexism in their life. I'd be like, well, let's talk about this a little deeper.
Maybe just a wee bit.
Maybe just a wee bit. Awesome. You have any other questions for me, dear?
Okay. I mean, here's just one at the top of my, I guess, like, riddle me this, like, why do we as women, it just seems like sometimes we judge each other harder than we judge men. It's just like, why is confidence intimidating on a woman, but on men it's leadership material? And I don't know, it's like, let's talk about it. So, like, how does internalized misogyny creep in, and more importantly, like, how do we unlearn that nonsense? That book. It's all up in there.
Come to my channel and watch my episodes, because she taught, I mean, you'd have to read the whole book to get to this, but I think she gets into it. So those 10 steps that I was going to read through those 10 steps, but I don't think my voice is going to last. So we might have to say that for next week. But those 10 steps, I think it's somewhere around the veiling of women. So step 5 and 6 is when they really start to separate people by class. And then if you remember, women were classified, so men are classified based on their access to be able for production, right? Their means for production. And then women were classified based on their attachment to men, or their lack of attachment to men, right? So you have gender, male, female,
right?
And then you have, you know, races within that,
right?
And I don't know, I need to go back and listen to that part. But so what happened was, and some of this is biology. I do believe in this biology. Not all the biology that I'm taught, I believe, because again, a lot of it's through that patriarchal lens. But you know, there are certain men that do produce probably more pheromones that, you know, there's something about our sense of smell as women, which birth control actually can damage, in allowing us to pick the best mate to produce the best
Mhm.
offspring. So that is biologically known. So women are going to compete for that best mate, right? So there's something,
Okay.
and there's just something inborn in us for that. But,
Mm.
then I think about the video I'm working on that'll come out Friday morning on is it natural for women to dominate and men to lead? Or yes, it's natural for women to dominate, for men to dominate and women to lead. And I talk about our two closest apes to us. Do you know the two closest apes to us?
I want to say it's probably bonobos and chimps.
Yes, you got it. Most people don't know the bonobos. So I say bonobos. It's actually, I learned today, bonobos. Bonobos. No, bonobos.
Bonobos.
I
Bonobos.
say
That's
bonobos.
cute.
But the bonobos actually are a matrifocal, matrilineal, and they actually are bisexual because they will create
I did not know that.
packs with the other females in order to share the men. And this actually keeps the men's ego in check. So the big strong men in the bonobos community are kept in check by the powerful women creating social and sexual contracts with each other. But then you have the chimpanzees, which is what we've been told by patriarchy that we're most similar to. They have erased or not even allowed us to know about the bonobos. A lot of people don't know about the bonobos. You say that and they're like, what is that? Some, ice cream by Cherry Garcia or, whatever. And so the chimpanzees are just like most of what patriarchy has been. And I point to this and the fact that like the two closest relatives we have, it's 50-50 all. It's not natural for us then, therefore, to assume that it's natural for us to submit to men because the bonobos don't. And they're close to us just as like the chimpanzees. So anyways, in this book, somewhere around chapter 5 or 6, I don't know if that's chapter. I don't know if it's different chapters, but in point 5 in the first episode, I go into those 10 steps. So point 5 and point 6, we start segregating people based on not just their sex, but now by race and by class. Mm-hmm. So you have all these different, that's what it was. So it's gender, race, class. No, I think gender, class, then race, or maybe gender, race, then class. And so what happens?
That's you.
That was just a cough, but thank you.
Okay.
And again, this is why I can't wait to put these little shorter ones out about the Live Island and the reality.
Oh,
TV.
Love Island.
What did I say? Love Island.
You said Live Island.
Yes, Love Island, and put these episodes out because you will see how subliminal Darvo is, and how effective it is to get somebody off of blaming the man, and she's now attacking herself, making herself like the oppressor. She thinks she's the narcissist. So
like she's the bad guy in the scenario.
She's the bad guy, right? So that kind of was happening around the time that point 5 and point 6 is. So point 5 was class for men versus class for women, and then the subjugation of the priestess and the veiling of women. And so as those two things were happening, you have to think, again, this is going over the course of a couple thousand years. This is probably about 1,000 of maybe 1,500 years into patriarchy. Women, and if you've ever watched one of your friends, or you've experienced, unfortunately, being in a narcissist relationship, a lot of narcissists go after very fiery, powerful women because they want that power for themselves. And you'll see a woman go from this powerful, fiery woman to being like, a child wife and not a good way. Right. So that was happening over thousands of years. The stories were pulling the goddesses, the powerful goddess and her power out of the stories. The men were. And it was just like this slow progression of men battering
regression, more like
regression, right? But the slow regression of men continually battering you until you batter yourselves, or you batter the woman next to you, because it gives you a leg up to be in connection to the power, which your power lies in the man.
That makes so much sense.
And that's where, when we look back at like Bridgerton and any of those Victorian type of series, women were always plotting on
Mm-hmm.
how to be connected to the most powerful man they could, because
Mm-hmm.
that gave them power, even if it meant
Right.
stepping on other women.
Right. But it's all a systemic thing
Yeah.
on purpose because like it's to make them think that they have power, but they really don't. And it's
Yeah.
awful.
So again, I don't say it's on purpose. I do say in my episodes that it was co-created. Patriarchy was originally more even likely, because it was matrilineal, it probably was women that we were leading the way into patriarchy, but they didn't know. They didn't know what it would lead to and what it would,
Mm-hmm.
kind of like trad wives in the MAGA movement. They don't know what they're doing because they think it's just
No.
better for them and it's God's design for them, but it's not, in order
Right.
to go that way, right? So yeah. So there's so much I can say about that, but I think it was a natural progression. And now I think the elites, the people that really use the system, I look at it more as, and this is just me, and I say this, I think in the third one, so 1C, is
Mm-hmm.
the elites can't, you know, and I think
Hi.
we'll wrap it up on
Yeah.
this because my voice is definitely going to go here soon. But the elites, not that I want to give them a buy. That is not why I'm saying this. And I'm not giving them any kind of pass for how they treat people. But it's like they've been pigeonholed by 6,000 years of patriarchy. So imagine if you were one of the first kings and that line had gotten passed down for 6,000
Mm-hmm.
years, there's a lot of fucking pressure on you to maintain the status quo because you have a
Mm-hmm.
6,000 year history of being the king of this country. I mean, that's not, kings have always been replaced by other kings, but I'm just saying, like,
Right.
there's a lot of pressure on these elites, and they're typically, upper class white men in our current day and age, to maintain. So they don't get to be themselves either. They have to toe that very patriarchal line, very narrow look of what it means. I mean, I can look at, I'm not going to say specifics, but I know certain men in my life who are stuck in that MAGA world, who I think are
Mm-hmm.
bisexual, probably gay, and they will never admit it to themselves because they're stuck in that. So they don't get to be themselves. So I actually, again, not
Yeah.
giving them a pass, but have some, I'll say, sympathy for them, because they are stuck in that world and they don't understand how it's damaging them. But it's like when it's your livelihood and you don't think that there's ever a way out.
Mm-hmm.
What do you do? And that's where a lot of these MAGA white women are too. they
Right.
don't they don't know that there's a way out. They don't know that there's not eternal damnation and hell on the other side. They don't know how to financially support themselves and their children. They risk
Right.
losing their children if they leave. I mean, I'm speaking from my own experience. I don't have my children now because I left a marriage like that.
Yeah. That's hard.
So, all right, any other
Yeah.
short little questions that are burning?
Um,
You can
maybe
drop them
not
in the
short.
chat too. We have a couple of people on now.
Let's see. I guess like what should people be reading and then what should people be doing or where should people go if they want to actually like start on learning this stuff?
Yeah. Awesome. Deconstructing Patriarchy. So we have a channel on YouTube and on Substack. Substack, I'm able to do a little bit more because I can put out posts that will also support this work and help take it deeper into our personal experience. I'm having it live on both places because I don't know what's going to happen with YouTube, and I want to make sure I own the material. So this is a little tangent, but the woman that wrote this book, Gerda Lerner, she was seeking to write a book called The Creation of Feminine Consciousness, which is her second book in the series. She couldn't do that though because she didn't know how we got into patriarchy based on the theories, if you will, of the traditionalist historians that she was looking at. It didn't make any sense. So she had to go digging deep for like 10 or 15 years to be able to write this book and really understand these 10 principles that we outline in the second video of how we got into patriarchy, of how it began. And so I'm breaking that down in Deconstructing Patriarchy. Oh, sorry, I was going somewhere. Tangent. So in her second book, The Creation of Feminine Consciousness, she talks about how women look back throughout patriarchal history and don't see us because we're not written into the narrative until more recently, like the last 150 years, we've started to write. So there's women like Hildegard in the 1700s, who some people don't even know about her, but she was a phenomenal saint, essentially. Hold on.
Sounds very familiar.
She was a nun. She chose that life because that's basically was option. You either get married, have kids, become a nun, and then you could have your consciousness develop. You could have time to develop your consciousness. That would have been my choice. Or you can become a prostitute. Those were the three choices for women. And so she made a point in the beginning of the feminine creation of feminine consciousness to say, we can't keep losing our progress as women, as feminine consciousness.
Right.
Hold on.
Holli.
So it's really important that we keep our work alive, and that's why I'm on Substack. People can support it there. Yeah, I'm gonna hold on.
Holli is a trooper. She's doing this even though she doesn't feel good.
Oh,
snaps for Holli.
It gives me endorphins though, and I'm gonna go rest after this and all day tomorrow. So
good.
So I live on Substack. I feel like I keep saying the same thing. So on Substack, people can support the work, $5 a month, $50 a year if you can. That's great. If not, don't worry about it. On YouTube, though, is where I'm asking people to watch the videos so I can get monetized. And we have a playlist, so it makes it easy. Foundation, Season 1, Foundations of Deconstructing Patriarchy. That's all you need to know. Give me just a sec. I'm going to go grab some water. More water. I've already drank the whole thing here.
Oh, yeah. Well, I feel like we just scratched the surface.
Okay.
She's coming. She's coming back.
Oh my gosh. I mean, it's like flowing, which is a good thing. Okay. So Season 1 playlist, start at the beginning with the trailer. I'm having them load as, I make them. So they're at the beginning. There'll be some shorts in there. Watch those too, because it just helps to hear this more and more and more. And then come to the lives on Wednesday nights. Hopefully I'll have my voice back by next week with your questions. And then I do put the links to all the books that I'm using in those video descriptions and in the Substack as well. So you can grab those. There are affiliate links, so I can hopefully make some money off of that as well. Did that answer all the questions?
I think so. I think that answered all my questions.
And eventually, I do want to do like a Bible study is what I'm saying on the creation of patriarchy. It's just like, I will read 1 or 2 pages and I have to go back and reread it because there's so much in every single word and every single sentence in this book that it's like, oh my gosh. So I think it would just be really, that's kind of why I'm doing the series, because it highlights the big concepts of this, because it is very deep and very, very meaty. But yeah. And then I'm trying to synthesize it with all these other books that I've read and, being in the hippy dippy world and getting into like, I guess Native American spiritualism more and occult and some of these more ancient type of traditions, synthesizing that with this stuff. And so we can resurrect some of this information that's been oppressed and suppressed throughout patriarchy.
Right.
And I would say the last step to that is also the book that I'm writing. The Sacred Tryst is the working title right now, but it is an example of how we can use this information and recreate our creation stories, which I think is going to be really important, and rewrite stories that we can have as a nation. I mean, I think that's what we're going to have to do eventually. I don't know how, but yeah, we're going to have to rewrite our stories. If you got all that. All right.
I did.
Awesome. All right, y'all. I think I'm going to wrap it up there so I don't have another coughing fit on you. But thank you, Paige, so much. This was so much more fun than doing it by myself.
You're so welcome, Holli. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you.
Yeah, we'll definitely have you back. And everybody, make sure you're subscribed to Deconstructing Patriarchy. Hit the little bell so then you'll get the notice on Friday morning when the Season 1, Episode 2 comes out.
Oh, yeah. Subscribe!
Yeah, it'll be about, is it natural order for men to dominate and women to lead?